Have you ever felt a sudden, inexplicable connection with someone? A spark of intuition that turned out to be right? Or have you ever wondered how a tiny seed, with just water and light, can build the intricate architecture of a giant redwood tree? What if I told you that the answer to both of these questions, the whispers of your intuition and the fundamental engine of life on Earth, are rooted in the same strange and beautiful science? Today, we journey into the heart of reality itself to uncover the secret quantum connections that bind us to the universe and to each other. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of you. Our story begins with a concept so bizarre that it deeply troubled the great Albert Einstein. He famously called it spooky action at a distance. This phenomenon is known as quantum entanglement, and it is the master key to understanding everything we're going to explore today. So, what is it? Imagine you have a pair of magical coins. These coins are linked in a special way. You flip them both, and before they even land, you know that if one comes up heads, the other will instantly be tails. Now, imagine you give one of these coins to a friend, and they travel to the other side of the galaxy. The moment you look at your coin and see that it's heads, you know, faster than the speed of light, that your friend's coin is tails. It's not that the information traveled from your coin to theirs. It's that, in a way, they were never truly separate. They are two parts of a single, unified system, regardless of the distance between them. This is the essence of quantum entanglement. When two particles, like electrons or photons, are created in a certain way, their fates become intertwined. They are described by a single shared quantum state, measuring a property of one particle like its spin, which you can think of as its orientation, either up or down instantaneously influences the corresponding property of the other. If you measure one particle and find its spin is up, you will know with absolute certainty that its entangled twin is down. This idea was a direct challenge to the classical worldview that Einstein held dear. He, along with his colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, proposed a famous thought experiment in 1935, arguing that this instantaneous connection must mean there were hidden variables, some secret instructions, that the particles carried with them from the start. They couldn't accept a reality where the universe seemed to rely on non-local, faster-than-light communication. But in the decades since, physicist after physicist, most notably John Stuart Bell in the 1960s, and Aling Aspect in the 1980s, have performed rigorous experiments that have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there are no hidden instructions. The spooky connection is real. The universe, at its most fundamental level, is non-local. Why does this matter to you? Because this isn't just a party trick for subatomic particles. This principle of profound, instantaneous interconnectedness is the foundation upon which nature has built its most elegant and efficient systems. It's the invisible thread that ties our entire universe together. As we're about to see, this spooky action isn't just happening in physics labs. It's happening right now in the leaf of a tree, in the eye of a bird, and quite possibly within the very fabric of your own consciousness. This isn't just about how the universe works. It's about how we work. Let's step out of the physics lab and into a forest. Take a deep breath. The oxygen you just inhaled is a gift from the quiet, constant miracle happening in every green leaf around you: photosynthesis. For centuries, we've understood the basic recipe. A plant takes sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide and turns them into energy and oxygen. Simple enough. But when scientists looked closer at the how, they hit a wall. The process is absurdly efficient. A plant can convert up to 95% of the sunlight it absorbs into chemical energy. To put that in perspective, our most advanced solar panels struggle to reach efficiencies in the low 20s. How does a humble plant, a biological system that is warm, wet, and messy, achieve a level of perfection that our best engineers can only dream of? The answer, it turns out, is that plants are quantum engineers. Inside the plant's cells are specialized molecules called chromophores, which act like tiny antennas designed to catch particles of light, or photons. When a photon from the sun strikes one of these antennas, its energy needs to be transported to a reaction center, the molecular factory where the energy conversion actually happens. In the classical view, this energy would bounce around randomly, trying different paths like a person lost in a maze. Given the chaotic environment of a cell, much of that energy should be lost as heat before it ever finds its destination. But it isn't. This is where the magic happens. Thanks to a phenomenon called quantum coherence, the energy from that single photon doesn't have to choose a path. It takes all possible paths at once. This is the principle of superposition, the same idea that says a quantum particle can be in multiple states or places simultaneously until it is measured. The energy exists in a wave of probability, instantly exploring every route to the reaction center. This allows the system to instantaneously find the single most efficient pathway. It's not trial and error. It's a quantum calculation that guarantees the best result every single time. The energy doesn't get lost because it never has a chance to be. Think about what this means. The very process that sustains almost all life on this planet, the process that creates the food we eat and the air we breathe, relies on a deep and elegant application of quantum mechanics. Nature didn't just stumble upon this. Evolution has sculpted life over billions of years to harness these fundamental physical laws. The green world around us isn't just a collection of classical machines. It's a massive, silent, quantum computer powered by the sun. And it serves as our first profound piece of evidence that the rules of the quantum world are not confined to the subatomic realm. They are, in fact, the very rules of life itself. From the silent world of plants, we now turn to one of the most breathtaking spectacles in the animal kingdom, the epic migration of birds. Consider the European robin. This tiny bird, weighing less than an ounce, can navigate thousands of miles with pinpoint accuracy, flying from Europe to North Africa and back again, often returning to the very same garden it left months before. For decades, we knew they used the Earth's magnetic field, but how they sensed it remained a profound mystery. The secret, scientists now believe, lies in a form of quantum entanglement happening right inside the bird's eye. This theory, known as the radical pair mechanism, is as elegant as it is astonishing. Here's how it works. Within the bird's retina is a protein called cryptochrome. When a photon of blue light from the sun enters the bird's eye and strikes a cryptochrome molecule, it knocks an electron loose, creating what's known as a radical pair, two molecules that are now linked by a pair of quantumly entangled electrons. These two electrons have a property called spin, which we can think of as a tiny magnetic orientation. Because they are entangled, their spins are perfectly correlated. Now, here is the crucial part. The way these entangled spins behave is extremely sensitive to external magnetic fields. The Earth's magnetic field, though weak, is just strong enough to influence how long these electron pairs remain in their entangled state. The strength and direction of the magnetic field lines change how the spins of the electrons oscillate back and forth between different states. This, in turn, affects the chemical reactions within the cryptochrome molecule, creating a chemical signal that is sent to the bird's brain. The result? The bird literally sees the Earth's magnetic field. It's believed to be a pattern of light and dark, a filter superimposed over the bird's normal vision. By simply tilting its head, the robin can see how the pattern shifts, allowing it to determine the direction of the magnetic field lines and use them as a living, biological quantum compass. This is a breathtaking example of quantum biology in action. It's nature taking the spooky action of entanglement and turning it into a tangible, life-sustaining tool for navigation. It tells us that evolution is not limited to shaping beaks and wings. It also shapes and refines processes at the subatomic level. The robin's incredible journey is not just a feat of endurance, but a testament to the fact that living organisms are deeply connected to the planet as fundamental forces in ways we are only just beginning to understand. It begs the question, if a bird can use quantum mechanics to find its way home, what other hidden quantum senses might we, and other animals, possess? We have seen the quantum world at work in plants and birds. Now our journey turns inward, to the most complex and mysterious object in the known universe. The 3-pound universe between your ears, the human brain. Our brains are electrochemical machines, right? Neurons fire, sending electrical signals down axons, releasing chemicals called neurotransmitters across synapses to the next neuron. This is the classical textbook model. It's powerful, and it explains a lot, but it also has its limits. One of the biggest unsolved mysteries in neuroscience is the binding problem. Think about your experience of reality right now. You are seeing these words, hearing my voice, feeling the temperature of the room, and perhaps recalling a memory all at the same time. Your brain takes in a flood of disparate sensory information processed in different regions, yet you don't experience it as a chaotic mess of separate inputs. You experience it as a single, unified, coherent conscious moment. How does the brain bind all of this information together into a seamless whole? The slow, one-by-one firing of neurons seems insufficient to explain the instantaneous unity of consciousness. Some researchers, like the physicist Matthew Fisher at the University of California, Santa Barbara, have proposed that the brain might be a quantum computer. The different parts of your brain, processing sight, sound, and touch, aren't just communicating slowly. They are part of a single, coherent quantum system. This is still a frontier of science, but it's a tantalizing one. It suggests that our thoughts, our feelings, and our very sense of self might be rooted in the same spooky action that baffled Einstein. It reframes the brain not just as a complex biological computer, but as a bridge between the classical world of our everyday experience and the strange, interconnected reality of the quantum realm. It forces us to ask, is consciousness simply what it feels like to have a quantum computer running inside your head? From the speculative networks within a single brain, we now take a step that might seem even more radical, the possibility of quantum connections between two brains. And there is no better place to explore this idea than with the profound and often inexplicable bond between identical twins. We've all heard the stories. One twin feels a sudden pang of anxiety, only to learn later that their sibling, miles away, was in an accident. One starts humming a song, and the other, in a different room, finishes the tune. For centuries, these accounts have been dismissed as coincidence, anecdote, or simply the result of two people who know each other incredibly well. But what if there's something more? What if the connection that starts in the womb two individuals, originating from a single split cell, leaves a faint but lasting quantum echo? This idea is moving from the realm of folklore into the world of preliminary scientific research. A groundbreaking, though still early stage, study has provided the first empirical hint that this connection might have a quantum component. In this experiment, pairs of twins were observed while their brain activity was monitored using EEG. The researchers found that when one twin was presented with a certain stimulus, the brain of the other twin sometimes showed a synchronized neural response, even when they were separated and had no classical way of communicating. But the most mind-bending part of this study involved using quantum entangled circuits to control the stimuli presented to the twins. The details are complex, but the essence is this. The random signals being shown to the twins were governed by the unpredictable collapse of a quantum system. The results suggested that under these quantum-controlled conditions, the twins exhibited enhanced learning and even greater levels of neural synchronization. It asks us to consider the possibility that we are not isolated islands of awareness. We've talked about twins, a very special and rare case of human connection. But now, let's bring this closer to home, to an experience we've all had, the subtle, powerful, and often ignored voice of intuition. Have you ever walked into a room and just felt that the mood was tense, even though no one was saying anything? Have you ever had a gut feeling about a person or a situation that turned out to be spot on? Or what about that common experience of thinking of an old friend for the first time in years, only to have them call you moments later? Conventional psychology has explanations for these things, of course. We subconsciously pick up on subtle body language, micro-expressions, or pheromonal cues. The phone call is simply a coincidence, our brain remembering the hits and forgetting the misses, a form of confirmation bias. And these classical explanations are undoubtedly part of the story. But are they the whole story? Quantum biology offers a new and provocative lens through which to view these everyday mysteries. If, as the previous segments suggest, consciousness has quantum properties, then the information available to us might not be strictly limited to the data coming in through our 5 classical senses. but as feelings, hunches, and a general sense of resonance or dissonance. It recasts intuition not as a magical sixth sense, but as a perfectly natural, though deeply misunderstood, faculty of a quantum biological organism. It encourages us to listen to those quiet inner whispers, not as flights of fancy, but as potentially valid data points from a deeper layer of reality. It suggests that our capacity for empathy and connection is written into the very laws of physics that govern our existence. Having explored the vast networks of the brain and the subtle connections between people, let's now zoom way in. Let's travel down to the molecular heart of life itself, to the level of DNA and the enzymes that build and maintain it. Here, in the warm, chaotic, and crowded environment of the cell, we find one of the most counterintuitive yet essential quantum effects of all, quantum tunneling. In our everyday classical world, if you throw a ball at a solid wall, it will bounce back. It doesn't have enough energy to go over the wall, so it can't get to the other side. The wall is an impenetrable barrier. Simple. But in the quantum world, the rules are different. A quantum particle, like an electron, is also a wave of probability. This means there is a tiny, but non-zero, chance that the particle can be found on the other side of a barrier, even if it doesn't have enough energy to climb over it. It's as if it has tunneled straight through the wall, like a ghost. This isn't just a theoretical curiosity. It is absolutely fundamental to life as we know it. One of the most critical processes in your body is DNA replication. Every time one of your cells divides, it must make a near-perfect copy of its 6 billion-letter genetic code. The enzymes that carry out this task are molecular machines of breathtaking precision, but they face a constant challenge. The protons within the DNA double helix are constantly jiggling around and can occasionally jump to the wrong place, leading to a mutation. Classical physics predicts that these mutations should happen far more often than they do. The stability of life seems almost impossible. The solution? Quantum tunneling. The enzymes that copy DNA appear to have evolved to take advantage of this strange effect. They can precisely orchestrate the positions of protons, and the tunneling of electrons between molecules is a key step in many enzymatic reactions. This quantum jump allows chemical reactions to happen much faster and more accurately than they could if they had to rely on classical brute force methods of overcoming energy barriers. Evolution seems to have fine-tuned this process to a remarkable degree. It has created biological systems that can not only function in the presence of quantum weirdness, but actively depend on it for their survival and integrity. Without quantum tunneling, DNA replication would be riddled with errors, enzymes wouldn't work efficiently, and life, in its complex and stable form, likely couldn't exist. This reveals something profound about our own nature. We tend to think of ourselves as solid, classical beings, operating according to the predictable laws of cause and effect. But the reality is that the very chemistry that keeps us alive, the precise copying of our genetic blueprint from one generation of cells to the next, is fundamentally reliant on a ghostly probabilistic leap through solid walls. We are not just classical machines. We are finely tuned quantum systems, whose very existence depends on these strange and wonderful physical laws. The ghost in the machine is, it turns out, the machine itself. From the cellular machinery that builds us, we ascend once more into the realm of the mind, to the nature of thought itself. We've already touched on the brain as a potential quantum computer, but let's explore this further by looking at 3 pillars of our mental world: memory, attention, and creativity. Can quantum mechanics offer a new way to understand these familiar, yet deeply mysterious processes? Let's start with memory. The classical view of memory is often compared to a computer's hard drive. An experience happens, it gets encoded, and it's stored in a specific location as a data file. To remember it, you simply retrieve the file. A quantum-inspired model of memory offers a different perspective. What if a memory isn't a static file, but a potential state, a wave of possibilities stored in the quantum architecture of the brain? Before a quantum system is measured, it exists in a superposition of all possible states, a wave of potential. It paints a picture of thought, not as a linear sequence, but as a dynamic dance between possibility and actuality, a constant process of measurement and creation that mirrors the fundamental workings of the universe itself. Our journey has taken us from the vastness of space to the intimacy of our own thoughts. Now we're going to challenge the very idea of where we begin and end. We tend to think of ourselves as singular, autonomous individuals. But in reality, you are not alone, even within your own body. You are a walking, talking ecosystem. You are host to trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, that collectively make up your microbiome. In fact, microbial cells in your body outnumber your human cells by some estimates. For a long time, we viewed these microbes as passive hitchhikers, or even as adversaries. But we now know that they are integral to our existence. They digest our food, synthesize essential vitamins, train our immune system, and most astoundingly, they actively influence our physiology, our moods, and our thoughts by producing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. So where does quantum biology fit into this? For example, some species of bacteria are known to be magnetotactic, meaning they can navigate using magnetic fields. This brings us to a mind-bending conclusion. It recasts the self, not as a king in a castle, but as the emergent consciousness of a vibrant and complex ecosystem. This understanding has practical implications for our health and well-being. It suggests that caring for our microbiome through diet, probiotics, and a healthy lifestyle is not just about physical health. It's about tending to the complex web of life that co-creates our mental and emotional reality. By nourishing the quantum processes of our inner world, we may be nourishing the very roots of our own consciousness. The journey inward reveals that the self is not a noun, but a verb. Not a thing, but a relationship, a dynamic quantum conversation between the us we know and the trillions of others we carry within. We have journeyed from the spooky link between two particles to the vast, living ecosystem within our own bodies. For our final step, we contemplate the most profound and far-reaching implication of all, the potential for collective states of consciousness. Think about moments of powerful shared experience. The feeling of unity in a stadium when the home team scores. The deep, silent harmony felt by a group in meditation. The electric connection between musicians in a jazz quartet and their audience, where the music seems to play itself. We often describe these experiences with words like resonance, coherence, and harmony. While we may use these as metaphors, quantum physics suggests they might be more literal than we imagine. In the quantum world, systems can behave in a coherent, unified way. In a laser, for example, trillions of photons align their properties, moving together as a single, powerful, and coherent wave. This is a collective quantum state. What if consciousness, being a quantum phenomenon, can do something similar? This idea proposes that consciousness is not entirely confined within individual skulls. Instead, it might be something we participate in, a field of information that we can tap into and contribute to. When a group of people align their attention, their intention, or their emotional state through shared purpose, meditation, music, or intense shared experience, their individual quantum fields of consciousness might begin to resonate and overlap. This could create a larger, shared information field, a state of collective coherence that is greater than the sum of its parts. This could provide a framework for understanding phenomena that have long puzzled science, like the Maharishi effect, where studies have suggested that large groups of meditators can have a measurable effect on reducing local crime rates. While highly controversial, such ideas are explored by projects like the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton, which used random number generators placed around the world to see if their output deviated from randomness. During major global events, like 9/11s or a royal wedding, suggesting a form of global coherence in attention. This is the ultimate extension of the journey we've been on. We started with two entangled particles, linked across space. We saw that entanglement and coherence are the engines of life in plants and birds. We speculated that it unifies our own brains and connects us to others in subtle ways. See yourself not as a separate, isolated machine, but as a vibrant, conscious ecosystem. Fundamentally, woven into the fabric of the universe. The advice drawn from this story is simple, yet transformative. First, listen to your intuition. That gut feeling, that sense of connection, that sudden insight, don't dismiss it as random noise. Recognize it as a potential signal from the deeper, quantum layer of your consciousness. Cultivate stillness and quiet in your life through meditation, walks in nature, or simply unplugging to better hear these subtle whispers. Second, nurture your connections. The relationships in your life are not just social contracts. They may be reflections of a real, physical interconnectedness. Practice empathy. Recognize that the energy you put out into the world influences the shared field we all participate in. Your state of being matters not just to you, but to everyone you connect with. And finally, live with a sense of wonder. Look at a simple tree and see a quantum engine. Watch a flock of birds and see a collective navigational miracle. Recognize that the very act of you thinking and feeling right now is one of the greatest wonders of the cosmos. You are a bridge between the quantum world of infinite possibility and the classical world of tangible experience. This journey changes our perspective on everything. It tells us that reality is not fixed and separate, but fluid and entangled. It suggests our consciousness is not a mere byproduct of biology, but a fundamental aspect of the universe. We are not simply observers of reality. We are co-creators of it. So I leave you with a question to ponder. If you truly believed in your heart that your thoughts, feelings, and intentions were interconnected with the world around you, how would you choose to live differently starting today? Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. I wish you the very best of health in both body and mind. If this exploration sparked your curiosity and you want to continue diving deep into the mysteries of science and consciousness, please consider subscribing to the channel. There's so much more to discover together.